السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. ربي أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
We're reading Seedbed of the Light, page 12 for us, 59 on the book, and we're going to be starting from the bullet point on that page, which is right after the first paragraph. The owner of this world is the all-preserving. People have not been left to do whatever they want. Rather, their words and acts are recorded, and their consequences are preserved for a final reckoning. The Maker's autumnal destruction of spring's beautiful things means their discharge from their duties and makes room for new things to fulfill their duties. It is also a warning for the heedless that the Maker of this world is the all-knowing and eternal, who drives and urges his servants to him, and who has prepared for them things beyond their imagination.
The all-preserving, the word all-preserving. We have discussed this a lot, that everything is preserved. Nothing is totally forgotten. And there are many other, many examples of it, apart from the examples we see in the creation, especially human memory. We are sure that the things are not going into annihilation. If we understand that the owner of this world is preserving everything, and how is it related to my practical life? But the text says the words and acts of human beings are recorded. And now the first part is the words and acts are recorded. What makes a word or act worthy of being recorded? Not the action, that's if taking a picture or the filming a man's action, like in the films. Even the actors in the films, while the producer or manager, how are they called? Director is recording their acts. What is he expecting from them? He or she is he expecting from them to express certain feelings in their action. The action itself is not important. What did they reflect? What it reflects is important. So the real actor displays his feelings in the act. This is the worldly affairs. This in this world. That is why everybody can say that I can do the same thing as an actor does, a professional actor does. No, you can't. You have to train, because you have to reflect the meaning in your acts. So words and acts are important, not because of the action itself, not because of the word is used itself, because which kind of meaning they carried, they transferred to us. That is recorded. Not recording the action itself is nothing. The meaning included in this action makes it worth being recorded.
So this applies to both when I am the observer, when I observe creation around me. Creation is reflecting something in acts and words. Like last time we talked about spoken flower. What was it?
Spoken word.
Spoken word, right? The flower representing spoken word.
Spoken word.
So everything
in creation.
Right. So everything is manifesting some kind of act and word, but I have to receive it in terms of the meaning that it's reflecting, and at the same time, when I'm the one performing an action, it has to be meaningful as well. So
when you are the one,
when I'm the one performing an action,
yeah,
I have to make it meaningful as well in terms of why am I doing what I'm doing.
Of course. I mean, the problem lies not here that the people don't reflect their meanings in the actions. The problem lies in a misunderstanding that actions alone is worth. Especially, it is worth being recorded. Actions alone are being recorded. So what we have to bear in mind or remember that the actions are important because of the meaning they carry, not the action itself. For example, I may say, use the word La ilaha illallah. Yeah, the words are important because of the meaning I carry with these words. That's why they are worth being recorded. If the actor, in the example we used, if the actor is, let's say, expected to run, then he says, I'm running, but without expressing why he is running in the way that he is running. It's not an actor, but it's not worth it. The action itself, running, the action in the form of running, itself is nothing unless it transfers the meaning in it. That's why actor means, artist means, the one who reflects the meaning in his action. Right? Is clear? Now, what we do usually, the human beings usually concentrate on the action or the words they use, not that what they carry. What the meaning they carry, of course, the meaning as far as the human actions are concerned is consciousness of the meaning carried by the action, as far as the human beings are concerned. So if someone says, I have done such and such activities, okay, but it is not important. What is important? Which kind of meaning you have carried through these actions. That is what makes the action to be recorded, preserved, the meaning. Otherwise, if the artist does not reflect the meaning in the action, that it is being filmed. The director says, okay, it is not good, do it again. Until in the action, the purpose of the action, the meaning of the action is reflect in the behavior, the face expressions and physical behavior, then it is preserved. Otherwise, it is deleted. How many times they repeat one action while they are making the film? Until the real meaning in the action is represented, displayed, then the director says, okay. Otherwise, they don't record it. They delete it. This is in the world.
So would it make sense to say that actions in themselves are useless? So like, because they're transient, they just like come and go, but the meaning behind them, that's what we carry, that's what stays with us.
What makes the action
so like when I watch
valuable?
A movie, so I watch a movie, I don't really remember the act itself, but the message or the reflection that I got,
that is what stays with
me. So does it make sense to say that actions, because they're transient, like everything else in the universe, that's what makes them meaningless or in themselves useless?
Yeah. Let us preserve it in your memory. Yeah. That's an example that the creator of this universe will do the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. If the action itself does not carry any meaning, consciousness, it's not worth recording it.
Any kind of action, religious, universal, any actions.
It's good point. Their consequences are preserved. What are their consequences? Would you like to say something before this? Okay.
So their words and acts are recorded. Just reviewing everything that we've all talked about for like a couple of weeks now. So last week we just quick review just to kind of make it cohesive. Every act of creation delivers a word, and since the universe is dynamic, there's speech happening in the universe. So, and on Thursday we discussed how recordings, this concept of, so the word here is their words and acts are recorded, and we talked about on Thursday how recordings are really referring to qualities that are being displayed now that will be manifesting now, qualities that are being manifested now, being recorded now. And so it was about the qualities being recorded, and not, on Thursday we talked about it was not this concept of our actions, but qualities that are being displayed right now that will be displayed clear again. So now when it says their words and acts are recorded, referring to people, which is the sentence right before, I'm trying to like make sense of this with what we talked about last week and Thursday. Because there's so much cultural baggage when I hear their words and acts are recorded, people, that it brings me back to my cultural understanding of my words and acts are being recorded and I'm accountable for those. And now we're saying that really my words and acts are meaningless when they're not connected to the qualities or meaning displayed in the universe.
If they are not connected to the meaning they carry, for example, saying, repeating a sacred word. If this repetition does not carry the meaning of the sacred word, or that taken from the scripture, is not carried, what is the point in recording it? But of course, it becomes at the very end, it becomes automatic. But we have to be conscious of it. First, you need to study the the axiom, and in order to solve the problem, you need to study it and work on it. It takes 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 day, 1 week to understand. But as you grasp the meaning or the application of the formula there, what you do it more and more quickly in time. And at the very end, it becomes an automatic. But if it is not the result of previous understanding or comprehension of the meaning ingrained in the action and the words, just repeating does not mean that they are worth being preserved, because they have no consequences. The action itself, without any meaning recorded in it, or conscious awareness of the meaning is recorded in it, the action itself is nothing.
And I guess that's consistent with like Quranic principles. What the Quran teaches is, despite all of your actions of heedlessness, they can all be transformed into good deeds if we arrive at this consciousness, which proves that the actions and the words in and of themselves don't have value, but it's connecting them to meaning that would transform everything.
Transform everything into the quality of the meaning. What the meaning refers to, what does the meaning refer to? The meaning in the action always is connected to what? In one's action in this world. The meaning in one's action is always connected to, is expected to connect to what? Source of existence. It means it is maker. Then when it is connected to the maker, it becomes, say, meaningful and eternal, not transient anymore, because the connection is done to the eternal one. Well, if a meaning which does not connect the actor of the action to the eternal one, it will belong to this world. And this world is transient. It is a transient action. It's a transient action. And the transient action is not worth being recorded.
But, okay, so here's my question. It's from cultural stuff, cultural baggage, but it is, in principle, still being recorded.
Yeah, but
our
it
actions
is,
of heedlessness are still...
it is recorded as void, meaningless. That's why the black spots appear in our life. So the combination of the black spots and the white spots representing the connection with the eternal source, black spots are connecting to the transient spot. That's why on Thursday, well, although we have not really hammered on it as much as it deserved to be, we say for the benefit of humanity. What does it mean? Every human being is transient. For the benefit of humanity means you help me or you help another person for a transient base. Your action is worthless to be recorded. It means void. The black spot, because the time passed, creation passed, and you didn't get any value out of this past experience. It is black. It means void.
So it's very human to have void in your journey in this universe. And once
To have what?
some kind of black spot, it's very human to have
Yeah,
this
we may.
kind of black spot.
We do. Not we may. We do. I do. Yeah.
And the purpose of their existence is for you to connect back to those and then make it meaningful by transforming it, well, connecting it to the source and thus making it eternal.
Eternal, yeah. Then it is worth to be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and also it gets the value of the action.
Is that how we live? This is
Yeah.
how anyone lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why we have always gray slate
Mm.
mixed up with white and black.
So,
Alaikum salam. Alaikum salam. Rahmatullah. MashaAllah. Alaikum salam. It's a good surprise. Now,
I have a question.
yeah, you have. Somebody should distribute this. The next. Yeah. And once more. Hey, Sarah,
well, it's okay.
come on, you are addicted to junk food. You like it. I like it too. Okay.
So, when we say the word consequences of actions, we're referring to all actions, including heedlessness actions and conscious actions, each of which have consequences.
Yeah. They are recorded, but some of them are recorded as void, meaningless. Even it is done, which is a very common language in this century, maybe not this century, last 2-3 centuries, for the benefit of humanity. Think about it. Even for the benefit of humanity, for what? Every human being is transient, going away. Because it is very human that when they do something, they want to have a purpose in their action. Doing purposeless actions makes the man look stupid. Why do you do that? So they require a purpose, which is a quite human attitude.
That's what gives the
So
satisfaction.
That's
what gives the satisfaction that I did something.
So it is human, very human, right? Now, what we do if we don't connect our actions through consciousness to the absolute source, eternal source, what we do, we replace it with something more elevated. For example, where are you going there? I say, if I'm going somewhere, I say, no, for nothing. What is the next question? Are you stupid? Yeah. So I have to have a purpose. I'm going there to buy something, to do something, makes it more acceptable for human nature. So in the actions, if the actions are related to something apparently not really mundane and selfish, that also is appealing to human beings. For example, why do you help your parents? For example, they need, let's say your father is ill and he needs to be taken care of. Why do you help your father? If you say, because of my own benefit, because if he lives longer, he will give me more money. No one says this. Yeah, no one says this. What do they say? To help another person is better because we have to help humanity. It is something higher value in action wise. So it is not really personal, selfish, but altruist. So look, I'm concerned with other people. Yeah. So I take care of the needy ones. It elevates the status of the action to a higher level so that human beings feel some sort of security in having a purpose, sacred purpose, or high purpose in their action. Get it? That's why they say we have to help humanity. It's not a selfish person. You see? Take yours, share. It's common. Yeah. So it looks more precious. But what we understand from the context that the things are preserved for their consequences. But the consequences are preserved by whom? The actions and words are preserved for their consequences. Consequences are preserved by whom? The one who has created this world. The way the universe is manifesting to us, that it is prepared by an absolute being. It is a work of an absolute being. So the purpose in the existence of this world is to recognize the absolute being. So human beings are expected to be aware of the connection between their action and the meaning of this action is related to the absolute being, the creator. Then the purpose of the existence will be fulfilled. Otherwise, the purpose of the existence will not be fulfilled, and it will be void. It means really meaningless. So, as the religion became very formative historically and institutionalized, and also it is exploited by those clergy, those people who are working for religion on a professional base. Like an engineer does a job, and what does he do at the end? Waits for the wage to be paid. So when the religion became a professional job, the people who became who started using the religion as a means of income. It means wage. Now, because it is not really true, and the human beings cannot really be satisfied with this kind of institution, as a result of their expectations from belief system, the religion, from religion. Now, what happened when the religion stopped or really gradually faded away from their real purpose, and then became a means of making wage, institutionalized, means of an income for certain class of people, which are called religious clergies, right? People didn't get satisfied with it, because religion needs to be, for example, before going this, if I need a repair, for example, I want to, the cupboard needs to be repaired. If someone says I can do it, and I ask him to do it, and he says, pay me X amount of money, and I will pay it. That's it. I am not expecting to satisfy my human qualities. But when it comes to religion, religion means something to do with somebody's understanding of the meaning of existence in this world. So if I go to a church or to a mosque or synagogue, whatever, the temple, any kind of temple, and if I give money or support them financially because of their work, for example, taking care of the church or mosque, or making another extension to the mosque. Now, this is, I support it. But this is something like paying a worker for his own work. But what is expected from religion is not this. It is, if you like, the satisfaction of the human consciousness. when religion in the West, especially, failed to satisfy the human consciousness because they didn't have a satisfactory answer in their religious institution or in their religious understanding. So the people were disappointed with it. What they did with the Enlightenment and the reform of religion, they denied the institutionalized religion. And it was right. It was right. The author of this book keeps saying that in the non-Muslim society, it is very important, the more the people they alienate themselves, keep themselves away from religion, they become more open to the truth. But among the students of the Quran, it works in the adverse direction. Because when you become loose in your understanding of the Quran, Quranic teaching, you lose the point in existence, in the purpose of the existence. But when you lose your trust in Christian theology, in Jewish theology, for example, what happens? You consciously reject the wrong thing and, of course, become ready to receive the right thing. That is correct. But if someone rejects the truth, what are you expecting from him? That's why the author says, I'm happy that Europe is running away from religion. Their understanding of religion. It becomes, the society becomes ready to receive the truth now because they are consciously rejecting the false. Now, of course, we have to be very careful when the people reject religion in the Muslim society. They don't reject the Quran because they don't know the Quran. They reject the false and wrongly represented practice of Islam. That is correct. Then you can speak to them. But wrongly and badly represented represented Islam in the practice of the Muslims are preserved. What do you do with these people? It means outward form of religion is preserved, not the meaning really, what the religion really teaches you, what the Quran really teaches you. If the outward form is preserved and saying that this is the truth, what can you tell to this man? This is the truth. I've got the truth. I don't need anything more. Helpless, eh? It's a bit difficult to understand. So in the Muslim society, doesn't matter the title of the society, may be a Muslim society. What are you confirming? What are you approving? What are you rejecting? Now, in the Muslim societies, those people who reject the misrepresented religion in the name of Islam are open to truth more than those people who preserve the misrepresented religion. It may not really match our traditional understanding. If a person says Muslim, alhamdulillah, this he says Muslim. Do you understand the reverse process? And we will come back from there. What happened and what we should do. What is it to do with humanitarian activities or humanism? Where did the humanism, the idea of humanism, come into play in the human civilizations? We have to understand this. And we are still under the influence of humanism in replacement of the truth. Yeah, we will work on it. It's not a simple subject. It is a very generally misunderstood subject. Yeah.
I don't know if this is important, but I kind of want to point, how did religion end up being a way of making money?
Sorry, how is?
How did religion end up being a way of making money? Like you were mentioning something.
The professionalism. Yeah, for example, in Judaic tradition, if you belong to a Levi tribe, you have to take care of the temple, and the other 11 tribes have to feed you. It's a profession. All the rabbis originally were from Levi tribe, because Levi tribe are assigned to study religion, to preserve religion, to take care of the temple and the religious institution. In fact, temple means religious institution. To take care of the temple, and the other tribes will pay.
Do we need such roles though in society?
Sorry?
Do we need such kind of roles though in society? Do we need such kind of roles in
Role?
roles? Do we need such kind of roles in?
No.
We don't, right?
No, that is wrong. That is the source of the disease of the last 2, 3, 4 centuries. The people got lost.
So they got
People-
self-appointed?
Yeah, of course. If someone says, I know, so I am imam, I am priest, I am rabbi. Yeah? And you have to ask me.
Who's paying them? I don't know if this
No,
one.
who's paying them or who's paying the imams?
Yeah.
Community, because they accept it. They don't take their own responsibility. What they do, they employ somebody else to do the job, instead of they themselves are doing the job.
So people are paying somebody to
What
tell
are
them
they?
what to do.
Who's paying the priests? Who's paying the imam? Who are paying them? Who are paying the rabbis, bishops? Who are paying them? Institutions. Where do they get the money from? From people. Not the government, through people. Even the government still, you cannot make religion or understanding ideas which human consciousness needs through payment. We have to share it. That's why Quran keeps saying, how many times keep saying, the prophets are not expecting any wage from anyone. In ajriya illa ala Allah. In ajriya illa ala Allah. We don't expect any wage from anyone. Our wage is only on Allah, on God. We don't expect any wage. That's why the prophets do not accept payment, do not expect wage, and do not accept sadaqah, charity. They are prohibited to them. Under the name of charity, they will get wage. With one exception to this is exchange of gifts. You know, you come here and you may bring one brownie and we can share as a gift. It's a human relationship, not a wage. The gift, if the gift was a wage, what it is, what it becomes?
Right.
Bribe. Yeah. So a gift must be a gift, not a means of bribe or bribing or paying or supplying the material need of the person. So what happened now? When the religion was institutionalized, rightly people became unhappy with it. That was right. They reject the religion. Okay. Do you think when a person, a human being, rejects the religion, he will say, okay, I am just living it on my own, for my own purpose, to satisfy myself? It's not human. They want to have higher objectives for their life. That's very human being.
or anyone, for example, if you ask a mother who prepares and does everything for her child, if you ask her, why do you do that? Is it just for my own satisfaction? No one says that. No one says this. It's not my own satisfaction. For the benefit of the baby, it's the trust to me. That they put lots of names on it. Yeah, we are the parenthood is a human action. It's a humanitarian action, so we have to do it something. Give a purpose to it. What they did, what happened in the history, when acting in the name of God died away, people replaced the actions instead of in the name of God, but in the name of humanity, benefiting the humanity. So for the next generation, why? Because for the next generation, it means I am altruistic. I am not selfish. So I'm thinking of the next generation. What is it to do with me? I'm going to die, they are going to die and disappear. What? Meaningless. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't have another person, but we have to do all actions in the name of the Creator to recognize it. That's why we emphasize on the importance of the nature of the acts, nature of the words that we use, which make them deserve to be preserved. The actor example, the film actor example, a person does some certain acts. We studied this at the beginning. We talked about it at the beginning. If the actor acts in a way that does not reflect, display the meaning in this action, in his behavior or expressions, bodily expressions or whatever, then the director doesn't accept it. But it's not worth to preserve it. Unless or until he acts in a way that displays the meaning in this action, then it is preserved. So we have to come to ourselves now. What makes my action worthy of being preserved? When it is attached to the purpose of the creation of this universe. The purpose of the creation of this universe is what? To get to know its creator and connect your human feelings as the source, as their source, to the creator and act in his name. Anything other than this is worthless. So we have to be very careful, but I think we didn't study this on Thursday enough. Why I kept saying that the sister said, for humanity, I said, this is a cheap word, a meaningless word. You know that. I attacked the girl there. Cheap word, meaningless word. Don't you know that it has no meaning? What are you going to do with helping other people? And an example I gave, I think I remember now, that you help the man, for example, instead of the man living 60 years, but after your help, receiving your help, he lived 80 years. So what? At the end, died and became zero. Yeah, meaningless. Do you understand? So this is a tricky word which is very commonly used and accepted by this civilization, not necessarily the non-Muslim civilization, no. Even in the Muslim communities, those people say that we are Muslims. And if you say we have to do some humanitarian actions, we have to do some actions that helps human beings, what we do, all the Muslims say, yes, yes, we have to. They miss the point. Because it gives a purpose for your life and for your action. Looks like you are validating your action. But in fact,
Your action can gain value only if it is related to its absolute infinite source. So whatever you do, that connection with the absolute source is important. In the language of the Quran, do it in the name of God, Bismillah. But it needs consciousness, of course. That is important, eh? Okay. I think the paragraph has other points as well.
So I think before we move on to the next line, should we define what final reckoning entails?
For a purpose, I understand it. Final reckoning is for a purpose. It is, you are not left alone here to use the properties given to you. There must be a reason. I mean, traditionally, it is referred to the hereafter, but practically what we know, we give this example on many occasions, which is a good occasion. When you go to school to be trained in a certain profession, what happens? You go to class, and every class you learn something, yeah. In each class, you learn something, and all of them is recorded or preserved for the final reckoning. What does it mean? In your the result of your exam and your degree, and the quality in your profession. Which quality you have in your profession? There is a purpose.
Yep.
So in recording of our actions in this world, there must be a purpose. So apparently it seems to be we are going to die, and when you look at the material side of the event, and everything will become to nothing, so it is not a purpose. To take something, or somebody says, I'm going somewhere and I'm getting this one, what are you going to do with it? I throw it in the garbage. What do you say?
That's
None of the human consciousness accepts this.
Just to kind of reiterate that, a little bit on the middle here, but so I know, and we've discussed this before, but consequences are the result of an action. So depending on how I perceive the events happening, each action has a consequence, and that's the result of each moment, right? So when we say consequences, we're talking about here and now, every moment. And then so are preserved for a final reckoning. I know Qasim just asked a question about the final reckoning, because we're so used to it being the day of judgment on a final day sometime from now, it's so easy to disconnect from it. But we're interpreting these consequences being preserved for a final reckoning at the end of each moment. Are we referring this final reckoning to, in this moment right now, as the final reckoning?
For you, as we are living here, for example, if you learn something in one class, attending one class, it is with you. Now, as far as your life is concerned now, it is with you now. It is final reckoning for you. You got it. You learned it or you missed it. But let's say that you learned it, that it is with you now. Your quality in that profession went up 1 degree up. Right? This is final reckoning. That's what you are, as far as the life in this world is concerned. But as far as your existence is concerned, final reckoning is the result of your whole life, and then you will be either
let's say you are studying in engineering, in the electrical engineering, you will be an electrical engineer as a result of all the accumulated qualities of your learnings during the classes, during the education time. This is the education time in this world. We are being educated.
So the final purpose does not mean the end purpose, but rather the complete purpose. For example, using the classroom analogy, if you fail in your exam, or if you're not studying throughout the year and at the end you don't perform well, you not only did not fulfill the purpose of passing that exam, but you failed the purpose of sitting in those classes as well. So it's the whole existence, as the words that you used, that would become meaningless, not just the end result of it. Interesting point.
Getting the degree,
Yeah,
is the final reckoning.
But at the same time, if you fail that exam, you're given more opportunities to update yourself. And let's say you do study and then pass the exam, then the final reckoning will be based on your passing the exam in this physical universe.
If you pass the exams, yeah. If you don't pass the exams, whatever you do, you go to the class, but don't pay attention to the professor and don't learn it. What happens? Your attending the class will have no result. So you won't get the degree.
As far as this type of existence is concerned, right? Yeah. And therefore, I have more opportunities to attend a class regularly by paying more attention and then eventually get a degree.
Eventually get a degree. But if you learn it, if you don't learn it, the action itself, going to class but not paying attention to the professor, doesn't make you deserve the degree. Yeah.
We're talking about two types of final reckoning. One, what we experience here, and one like
as far as the example, we shouldn't confuse the analogy with the what it is used for. The analogy is a student attending a university or a college education in this universe, right? Every class adds something to his value, his or her value. That is what is the final reckoning is for this person as far as this education system is concerned. But the education system is used as an analogy to say that at the end, you are looking for what? The degree, right? So getting the degree is the final reckoning. But momentarily, thinking about the event, momentarily, the final reckoning is recorded in your existence as well, because when you learn something, it is with you. Got it? So this is an analogy. Now, as far as our the purpose of our existence in this world is concerned, whatever we do consciously, it is with us. It adds our consciousness of our Creator in this world if we do it in the positive way or expected way. So it adds to my value. But at the end, well, because of the fact that everybody dies, I die as well. You know, I die. Everybody dies. The nature of this universe says that there is a graduation date. Graduation date, right? When your graduation date comes, all your previously accumulated information and learnings will be weighed and you will be given the degree accordingly. That is another final reckoning. In terms of the whole human life is concerned. Daily existence, yes. But in terms of the life experience on earth is concerned, the degree is important. At the end, what we have done.
I understand that part, and it sort of seems like a not so good news that everything is taken into account in terms of all the accumulated moments here, where obviously you have some voids, some black spots and white spots.
Of course.
So everything will be taken into account.
But you should never forget that there are always makeup exams. You know, when you realize that you should have learned it, but you didn't, yeah, then you are given the makeup exam. It means asking for forgiveness and replacing it, because if someone asks for forgiveness, it automatically replaces it as weak point, the missing point. Because the purpose in living in this world is acknowledging the source of existence of your human feelings and connecting your human feelings to their sources. That's the purpose. Now, sometimes you and I might have not done it, but later on I realized that I should have done it. The action itself is a vehicle, is a means to transfer this meaning. So previous actions didn't have this meaning, this connection. But when you realize that you have missed the opportunity and desired or prefer to replace it with the right action, it means right form of action, right way of doing this action, it means connecting to the Creator. When you realize it, it means that was the purpose. That is why asking for forgiveness is essential. Essential as a part of your belief system. The action is not essential as a part of your belief system. That's a long discussion in the Muslim theological studies. Are the actions, they say, are the actions a part of belief? That's a typical, traditional, conventional question. Are the actions the part of belief? Majority of the scholars said no. What is the part of, what is a part of belief? In consciousness, is the consciousness ingrained or included in the action? When you revive the action, the consciousness, action itself is not part of the belief. Recognition of the meaning of this action is a part of belief, and it is how do you say, revived, not revived. It is maybe revived is the word. Reinforced and brought into the practice now. That was the purpose. That's why they say, again, theology concludes that asking for forgiveness, repentance, is a part of belief. Action is not a part of belief. That they make it very consciously and finely distinguish the difference between action and the meaning within the action. The meaning within the action is a part of belief. Action itself is not a part of belief. So we have to be very careful by saying that, oh, we are doing the actions, okay, I'm fine. No. Action itself has nothing to do with your belief. But action is a vehicle, carries the meaning of your belief. Now, if you don't do the action, you don't have the vehicle to carry the meaning. What do? You become
Nowadays, spiritual man rejecting your human body, the conditions of the creation in this world, because we are created here in this world, not only in the form of a soul, but also the soul in the body, and they communicate together, they use together. So action must be done consciously. The actions which are not done consciously have no value by definition. Only consciousness without being put into the action form is also rejecting the reality of this kind of creation. It means it becomes not appropriate to the type of creation that we are experiencing in this world. Do you understand? So we are here, we should never reject it. We are here with our human side, which is soul, and with our body, and our soul is using our body to communicate with the universe. So through this communication, we fulfill the purpose of our existence. Through this communication, right? Unconscious actions are worthless. But without putting into practice, if someone says, I am a spiritual person, I believe in God, without action is also a rejection or negligence of the reality of this kind of creation. They must be united, because we are united in this world. Human beings and body, and also human side, and the universe are united. Can you cut off your relationship with the material world? Can you not sustain your existence, your being, without breathing, without eating, drinking, and communicating, or sitting on the earth or something? Impossible. You cannot be like a spirit alone. You have to put it into practice.
So I just want to say something about forgiveness. So when we talk about forgiveness, we're not asking for forgiveness for the actions, but we're not being conscious while doing actions.
Yeah, for your lack of consciousness.
Yes, so I'm not asking for forgiveness.
But it may be represented by the lack of action. You see what I mean? Because if there is no action, there is no consciousness performed. But people may reduce it to action because actions are more palpable, experiential, and real for us in this world. So we talk about actions, but in fact, yes, talking about actions is true, but it should not be at the expense of ignoring the meaning in it. Right? That is the missing point in the believing society. They emphasize on the actions, but the meaning which is expected to be in it is neglected. So they say, do you pray 5 times a day? For example, if you say no, you are bad. If you say yes, oh, mashallah. Where is the meaning in it? Right? Must be united.
Question. Since we brought up prayers.
Or in another.
So I understand that because we are, or I am, a spirit and a body in my current existence or reality.
Yeah.
For me to
functioning together,
for me to communicate with other materials in this universe, such as having food, I am not just materially communicating with it, but also consciously communicating with it.
Because I have the quality, to do that.
So when it comes to the physical act of prayer, this is slightly off topic, but when it comes to the physical act of prayer, I'm communicating with, or I'm acknowledging or communicating with the one that is not of the nature of this universe. So why is the materialistic or bodily performance or action necessary?
To confirm the meaning that you have. So without the act, you're not really connecting because it's just words or just thoughts or meanings inside of you that are not like so are not confirmed. So the actions are to confirm your state of consciousness or the state, not the state or the way you're being. So without the acts, the being is also we're neither a soul nor a body. So we're the union between them, which is the third thing. So the consciousness, which is the soul part, without the actions, doesn't give you the third part, which is the actual thing that you are. So you need both sides to be you or the thing.
My question was, as you mentioned the word communicating or connecting. Sorry. When I'm eating food, I'm connecting with the food because it's almost necessary, because it's a material thing. But when I'm connecting with the one or the creator, or making an attempt to connect with the creator, that is not a material thing.
Yeah.
So the question was, since for that connection, why is the physical body necessary?
So for the opposite example, for like when you eat, so that's your body. Like you're enjoying the food, that's your body enjoying the food. But if you're not conscious about the source of maybe the food, then you're just doing your body function, you're enjoying the food, or like saying that that's just like the body function.
Right.
So
But I think he's just questioning the other side of the subject. It means, since I acknowledge the creator of the food, why should I eat the food?
No, because it's necessary.
It's necessary for what?
For my body, which is
for your body,
thing,
yes.
to connect with another material thing.
Yeah.
But the immaterial thing of the food,
Yeah.
which is
the meaning recorded in it. Yeah, we studied this the last Thursday. Yeah, recorded in it. Yeah,
I'm connecting it consciously.
Yeah.
To the source.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the act of prayer,
yeah,
because there's no physical
necessity
that I need to connect with.
The question is, are you really sure that there is no physical necessity to practice yourself? For example, can you speak? I gave this example earlier on another occasion, and you are very happy to express your happiness like a robot machine is saying, I am very happy with you. You see what I mean? That is against your nature, the way you are created. We are created in connection between the connection between the human side and body side. So body and human side means spirit or soul work together. They work together. So when you say, I'm very grateful to you, God, and I feel that I respect you, I esteem you, I adore you, but you have to express it physically as well, because you are not a word only or your consciousness, but also express it in your physical body. You have to do that in this type of creation. But when the type of creation changes, the condition changes as well, so we don't know. But for the moment, if I am happy with somebody, I have to put it into word, and also my face expression must reflect my happiness. Yeah. So if someone has a sullen black face, it means it's not happy with the case, right? Even he doesn't express it. It means that is necessary as far as the conditions of the type of creation that we are experiencing in this world.
Can we also say that, like, according to the way that I'm made, my human feelings require a physical way of connecting with that feeling? So when I feel something, according to the way that I'm made, my body requires a way to express that. So when I see someone I care about, I need to give them a hug, for example. And that's just the way that I'm made. It's automatic. So
how I am. Yeah, I am made in
similarly
this
with our feelings, and because it's dynamic, this world is dynamic. Every moment is new. We're always changing, forgetting. Everything is coming and going. Physical prayer offers me an opportunity to physically and emotionally and in whatever other ways, like and the word is pillar, but like root me into that relationship that's otherwise unseen or unphysical for me. So there needs to be a way to make it physical for me. Otherwise, it's like out of sight, out of mind. It's like theory, living in theory, as opposed to physically being bound or tied or like pillar, like being like as a pillar, like something that like holds or gives you structure in this relationship that's otherwise in theory or unseen.
Because they're only spiritual beings, yes. If you were.
I have a different theory.
But somebody wanted to say something.
Just to add on to what Sarah said, it's just this need to expressing whatever you experience or concluded in physical form. Because we live and we communicate in this physical world physically with objects. And with that communication, we connect our humanity to the source of its existence. So there is like so through the physical universe, you get to connect with something that is not of the nature of this universe. And adding on to what you said, so just like, let's say, if we go to a concert or a famous singer would walk in here, I don't know, Justin Bieber, I don't know, I'm just saying, you'll be like, hey, you know, like that excitement, right? But because the source of existence is not of the nature of this universe, but you concluded throughout your interaction with the universe that such a source must exist. That's the one that's giving me existence. That's the one that gave me the enjoyment by eating the brownies. So hey, guess what? You know, then say thank you or express my feelings in physical form. That's how I kind of
Very simple example. You say everything is created in a tidy way. Yes, tidily. And everything is created clean. So my creator is performing his qualities as the tidy creator, as the clean creator. Now, did you acknowledge it? Yeah. Okay. If you don't practice it, if you don't wash yourself or wash the plates, or what happens? You have to do it. So physically also we have to put into practice, I think, bodily expression. Lately, people started questioning the value of bodily expressions. I understand that what are they going to do with the actions by doing some certain physical actions? It is not worth it at all. Your consciousness is important, they say. Okay. You know why? Because of the common practice of the believers that they reduce religion and the religious responsibilities to only bodily actions, not consciousness, to formalities, then it is a reaction, because they see that this person is doing certain actions, right? Performing, going on pilgrimage and giving zakat, giving money to others, but the person looks at them and say, the people look at them and say, yeah, but this person is doing all these actions, but he has no human values. Yeah, he's not conscious of what he's doing. Example? And they reacted in the course of time, in history. They reacted it, and they rejected the value of the action itself. And some people, not everybody, but reduced to, I mean, spirituality, whatever they call them. Yeah. whatever they call them, depending on the language they use. Consciousness, awareness, your spirit is important. Purifying your heart is important. Heart is important, not the mind or not the body, this kind of things. The results came out in the society. Of course, it is not really, if you really think about it, none of them matches our human nature as far as this type of creation is concerned. This type of creation says you have to be conscious of what you are doing. They cannot be separated. Consciousness and action cannot be separated. As your spirit, your soul cannot be separated from the body as long as you are created in this type of creation. You cannot be only body, you cannot be only spirit. That is the reality of our creation.
And this just came to me as well. Like, of course, consciousness is like the foundation that's necessary in order to fill any action. So without that consciousness, preliminary or prerequisite, the action in and of itself has no value. We talked about that. But, and because we're bodies and soul at the same time, once there's some sort of seed or some sort of bud of consciousness there, the bodily expression of it does affect the consciousness. So somehow this experience of fasting does have an effect on consciousness, some sort of interconnected thing. And the same with the bodily positions of prayer, like they are reiterated in other yoga or whatever. Like bodily positions do affect our feelings and the way that we're made. So it's kind of like a circle that they're both interconnected with each other. So I'm saying that like the physical action of prayer can also have an effect on my feeling and consciousness to remind that feeling of consciousness.
The subject is changed now. Yeah. Now, effect. Whether they affect each other or not is another topic, really. Let's not get into it. But our reality in this type of existence requires to unite the soul with the body. That's it. So our consciousness must be represented in the form of physical bodily expressions, and our bodily expressions must have this consciousness within them. They must be together. You cannot separate them. That's my conclusion. Yep. The following sentence needs some sort of discussions now. Let's do it then. The Maker's autumnal distraction of spring is beautiful things. That's we see. We have no question. We are observing the spring. We are observing the fall. Yep. And there is a connection. One of them is the example of the act of creation. The other one is the example of giving death. Okay. This means that you have extra, yeah? This means their discharge from their duties. Their discharge from their duties and makes room for new things to fulfill their duties. Now, two duties are mentioned here. One of them is to be discharged. The other one is to be replaced, right? What do you understand from it? Why did some things need to be discharged in order to new things to be replaced? Yeah.
Because the transient nature of this universe is such that nothing is static. Everything is in continuous motion, change, transformation, and it becomes obvious that things are given a certain lifespan here, but at the same time, so for example, you observe a flower blossoming, and after that it withers away. A new season comes, another flower blossom. It's not the same one. That one is gone, but it's been replaced. So it just tells you that we're living in a guest house.
Now, that's a good point. This circle of creation and taken away from the creation, as far as our observation is concerned, is a kind of training for human beings that we are being trained here to do not exactly the same, but similar exercises about the same application of the let's say formula. Let's say a physical form, a formula which is presented to you. You are asked to do exercise in order to understand all forms of applications of it. That's why you are given multiple exercises to be done. An opportunity to do more exercises every time you don't do the same thing. What you do similar, but from different perspective, from a slightly different perspective. Does it make sense?
The end goal is the same, but the problem has changed in terms of its context.
No, practice is changed. I mean, the end goal is the same, acknowledging the source. But because the source is absolute, how I cannot say that I acknowledged the source as to be the absolute and finished. The manifestation of the absolute is endless. So we have to experience the different levels of manifestations in order to get to know the absolute source better, to introduce it to our human spirit or soul. So the human soul will get to know his owner with full capacity, as much as full capacity. But if we don't do the exercise, we don't know. For example, let's say one person is generous. Let's say I understand that person X is generous, but I don't know where the generosity that this man displays. So I have to see his generosity in one practice, in another practice, in another practice, so that I will get really close to this person. When I say he is generous, I say he is generous in, for example, feeding the people. He is generous in accommodating the people. He is generous in treating the people well. Different examples, different aspects of generosity will be experienced. So one manifestation of the quality of the absolute quality of the creator is displayed today in this way, tomorrow slightly different, the day after tomorrow even more slightly different, right? So as far as my capacity is concerned, as I am now, one action, one manifestation of the action must teach me something and go. And another one must replace it, but a different one. That's why I have to be always conscious of what I am doing, what is happening around me.
Which also, sorry, did you want to ask? I'm just wondering, so in this regard, it seems that in this transient universe, the qualities are reflected on objects temporarily, but once you're able to connect to the source, you know that these qualities are infinite, because I can be observing compassion in the brownie and later on have water. Again, I'm experiencing compassion. So it's like, wait a minute. The qualities are infinite, but they're just manifested on transient objects. But the source is infinite, right?
You can't, as a human being, one can communicate with the creator of this world as being compassionate in endless level and in endless different types of manifestation of compassion. So you understand that more and more you make sure that the one who is compassionate is compassionate in an endless form. So you cannot say that he's compassionate to give air to me, but not money. This is what I mean. So you become, because the human needs are open also, has no limit, they are limitless. And also manifestations of the endless, the absolute one is also endless. What we have to do, we have to go through a continuously renewed exercises.
Just like you were saying in terms of the different aspects of this compassionate one.
Yeah. So continuously renewed, but not exactly the same. Different manifestations. That's why everything is created in a changing form. That's why the creation is not static. It is compatible. What is happening in the universe is 100% compatible to human nature. We need neither exercises, need acknowledgement of the absolute source, and in order to reach to the conclusion that the source of existence is absolute, we have to see endless different manifestations, because absolute has endless in its qualities. How should I know? By repeating itself in a yet another different form, and doing it at the same time. And say, oh, it must be really absolute. That's why the world is dynamic. This creation is dynamic. My understanding is also dynamic. So I don't have a limited memory or capacity to understand the manifestation. As I learn the source to be the absolute, to be the eternal, I need to enlarge in my understanding of absolute through experience in this world. So the world is created in such a way that it gives me the opportunity to experience the manifestations of the same qualities in different forms. So I need to repeat my experience, not exactly the same, enlarging it. The universe is created to satisfy my need exactly as I need it. Do you see the relationship? So the perfectly matching, everything is perfectly compatible in the universe according to human responsibilities or human communications are concerned. Okay, you didn't speak today.
No, so with this line of thought, to my understanding in this sentence here, it seems like through my initial observation of, let's say, beautiful flowers during spring, I can negate the attribution of life and beauty to those flowers by observing their transience, hence their first duty being displaying their transience, and then afterwards recognize that since they are not the owners of their own qualities, that I can connect their source to the absolute source, which would be a manifestation of a second form of duty for them. Would be another form of them fulfilling their duty. So their initial duty being a displayment of their transience, in which I realize that they don't own their qualities, leading to them adopting a second duty of illustrating their source being something that is not the nature of this universe.
Yes, that's correct. But does it explain what you said, according to your understanding? It helps me to grasp more and more of the capacity of the absolute, because renuation is not exactly the same. It's not, nothing is repeated in the universe. Yet another form, yet another form, yet another form. Slightly different, but yet another form. It really feeds my need to understand the, not entirely, but at least the source must be absolute, changing every moment, manifesting it yet another form to me, every moment in another form, in another form, in another form. There's no end. And I conclude that the source must be absolute. Yeah. Okay, the last, I think the time is up. So last sentence, somebody can read it. It is also, I think this is easy to understand, the last sentence of the paragraph. Somebody?
I think it's background noise.
Right.
I think, yeah, you.
It is also a warning for the heedless that the maker of this world is the all-knowing and eternal, who drives and urges his servants to him, and who has prepared for them things beyond their imagination.
Yeah, it was the, in the Ashanur's explanation. The transit nature of the things points to the reality, to the fact that the source is not transient, because it's repeated. The things cannot be their own source of existence because they are in their nature transient. So they cannot be the source of their own existence. They disappear. But for those people who never think of the source of existence of the things, by coming into existence or being sent into existence and then taking it away, they say they cannot sustain their life. They cannot sustain their existence by themselves. So their existence continues in a different form, but they continue to exist. Like, I'm getting old, but my existence continues. Now, not exactly the same, but existence continues. So I cannot sustain my own existence because I cannot preserve my youth, which I would like to, and I cannot do it. For this kind of manifestation, or the type of creation, is for heedless people. It means they don't really think about it. They keep really pondering on their mind that, look, the things cannot sustain their existence. Look for the source of their existence by changing the creation continuously. That is another function. But I hope there is no heedless people here, so that's why we can just pass it in. So, thank you, and we have to stop. Thank you for coming. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعواهم أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. Lord, these people too guilty. Okay, they didn't eat this. Why don't you? Come on.